So welcome everybody to the chapter fundraising workshop. We are so excited to have you. This is our last development workshop of the Leader Summit. Yesterday we had a great one on Grants 101, and I see a few familiar faces on here today. So thanks for joining us today. The purpose of this workshop is to first and foremost highlight some success stories of a few great chapters who are doing wonderful work, and they're going to share some of what's been beneficial for them throughout their fundraising process for various programs. And then maybe most importantly, at the final stage of this workshop, we're going to hear from you guys and have some participation. We would love to hear from you of what is currently happening in your chapter, maybe where you're struggling, where you might need some assistance, and maybe have some active participation and troubleshooting with that, and see if we can help each other out. So let's get started with introductions. Oops. Sorry. Oh, there we go. My screen got a little stuck. Okay, let's start with introductions. I'm Lauren. I am the development manager for Slow Food USA. I go by she and her pronouns, and I live in Connecticut currently. I'm on the native lands of the Quinnipiac tribe. And I will turn it over to Maya.
Hi, everybody. I'm Maya Brook, Executive Director of Slow Food Denver, and we're in the middle of a snowstorm here. So snowy Denver right now.
All right.
I don't know if I'm next. Elsa, I think, is next on the list.
Why don't you go ahead, Angie?
Hi, I'm Angie White. I am the chair of Slow Food North Louisiana, and we are not having a snowstorm, but we are having unnaturally cold weather for us. It has been in the 20s when I get up in the morning, and I don't like it.
And hi, everybody. I'm Elsa Esch. I'm representing the East Bay chapter in Northern California, and we're basically a super wide region ranging from from Berkeley, Oakland area, as far, to Vallejo and even San Leandro. So it's a pretty wide, diverse area, and we are on a lonely land. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I just wanted to kind of caveat it. I am actually a stand-in for today. Jessica on our chapter really headed up this project for us. So I'm going to do my best to convey, her energy and her work and to share with everybody today.
Can I add an asterisk to my introduction? So I know North Louisiana should seem self-explanatory, but I've learned over the years when I say Louisiana, people actually hear New Orleans. And we are far from New Orleans in Louisiana. We're shaped like a boot. New Orleans is in the toe. We are the part of the boot that you pull up. So we are actually closer to Dallas, Texas.
Awesome. Thank you. And I see Stephanie from Slow Food Vegas. Hello. We've got Amy from Las Vegas as well. And we've got Slow Food Boulder. Hello, Katie. Hi, Shirley from Slow Food Vegas. We've got a lot of Vegas folks. Awesome. We've got Willow from Berkeley. We've got some from the Cooks Alliance. Hi, Fernando and Carol and Amy. Awesome. So good to see everybody here. Without further ado, I think we should start with chapter stories. So today we're highlighting Slow Food Denver, Slow Food East Bay, and Slow Food North Louisiana. We are going to hear from Maya, Elsa, and Angie about some of their success stories that they've experienced with fundraising. So if we could have Maya start, that would be awesome.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So at Slow Food Denver, about 5 years ago, we started our Little Sprouts program, and we teach elementary and some middle and high school children, we teach them cooking classes. So we have instructors go to the school. Typically it's after school, but some schools request that we come during the day, and we teach hands-on cooking classes with the slow food values. So if they do have a garden at the school, then we always implement seasonal cooking and go out into the garden so they can, pick fresh mint and then bring it back into the classroom and use it with a dish. And we really also try to focus on different type of dishes that are applicable to different cultures and traditions. And it's really wonderful seeing so many children that might not normally get access to fresh fruits and vegetables, like being able to actually explore and pull a carrot from the garden and then bring it into the kitchen and learn how proper knife skills to cut up the carrot. And it's such an awesome program. So we started with really just an idea, and wouldn't it be great to have this type of program? And then we had to fundraise, and some of the best ways that we were able to grow the program was actually through government grants. Even though we do have events and we have people donate money, the government grants can provide funds that just you cannot get without, really applying for those grants. So we started getting little grants, like a few thousand here and there, which helped. And one of our goals with the program was to, rather than just be in schools that parents can afford these cooking classes, also to really focus on the schools where they can't. So we started to look at schools throughout the Denver metro area that have 80% of students have free or reduced lunches. And so we used a lot of our focus on trying to make sure that our programs were in schools such as those where the kids would not be able to normally afford these classes. So we needed to have scholarships to provide them. And that's what started to motivate us to apply for government grants. And we actually got a grant last May. It was called Healthy Food for Denver Kids. And over 2 years, it's almost $100,000. And that was really just like the turning point for the program, from kind of feeling like we were struggling. And it was frustrating because we would have schools come to us and say, can you provide scholarships for 40 kids? And we didn't have the funds. And then all of a sudden we're able to not only provide the schools that have been on the wait list, but also go and make some phone calls to other schools that we know meet the requirements of 80% of kids with free and reduced meals. So it's been a really, really positive thing. And I would say being able to secure that grant was just huge for us. And it really aligned with our mission of being able to provide the course for not just students that parents can afford it, but students that really could benefit from our programs. Part of Healthy Food for Denver Kids is that they wanted to fund programs too that had after school opportunities for children that otherwise might not have a place to go after school. So this is also really nice for the schools that we work in, that once a week we serve children that might otherwise just go home to an empty house. And we're also providing healthy meals. During COVID, we did have to go online, of course, like a lot of people did, but for families that could not afford to just go to the grocery store and buy ingredients for different meals that we were cooking, we actually provided bags with all the food. And then we went a little above and beyond that based on being able to receive that grant money. And we then provided enough that it could feed the whole family. So if we were, making tamales, we had enough food so that it could feed a family of 5. So that was really successful. We've continued that with some schools that requested it too, because it was such a nice program for kids to be able to cook with their parents. So we're pretty happy about our Little Sprouts program. I'd say that's one of the highlights that we've been able to accomplish. And our program director, Annie Walsh, is the one who helped start Little Sprouts and has seen it from its infancy when we were in 1 or 2 schools and trying to, making phone calls and introduce ourselves, to now where we have people coming to us and saying, how do we get your program in our schools? So it's a very rewarding experience that goes along with our mission of good, clean, and fair food for all.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Maya. There's a few questions in the chat, if you don't mind. Stephanie was asking, do you have any grant funder suggestions? Curious to how you located the government grants, and maybe if you have suggestions for others of how to locate these grants or similar grants.
Yeah, so one of the best ways is wherever you live, whichever city you live, if you just go to the city and county website, there's normally different resources. And for the Denver city resources, you can pull down and there's all these different options. And so it's a little bit hidden, but after searching on the website for 10 minutes or so, you can see finally that grant link. But that, then you can join their mailing list. This is at least for Denver, but I would assume other cities are similar. And then we get alerts actually, and 99% of the grants that come about really aren't a fit, but there are some that really are a fit. And even this summer there was one, it was only $9,000, so not nearly as big as the Healthy Food for Denver Kids, but through that we were able to fund another 2 schools. So we're just constantly looking and keeping our eye out on those grant opportunities. So yeah, I would encourage you to do the same, to go to your city or county website. And if there's not a link, maybe make a phone call too, because most cities and counties do have some funds for programs like this.
Great answer. And Carol was asking, how many people does it take to run this program? And if you could also speak to, if there's been any involvement with staffing because of grant funds.
Yeah, absolutely. The grant funds did help us hire another part-time coordinator for the position. So it was first just our program director, and she did have the support of board members, and we had volunteers. We had a volunteer even write the curriculum, for example, but it was mostly Annie Walsh that was having to call the schools and coordinate with instructors. Of course, you need the instructors. We have about 8 instructors now, and depending on what time the classes are and the schedules, we rely on them to teach, but you always want to have a couple extras so that if someone gets sick, you have a sub. And then even though I'm executive director, even a small portion of my salary, I think the grant covered 5 or 10%, but yeah, it certainly is also applicable to salaries, which is really nice. Now, not every grant, you have to look at the funding requirements. We have also received smaller government grants, and it specifically says, cannot be used for admin or salaries. But if you do get the ones that they're more flexible, it is really nice. And like I said, we were able to hire a part-time coordinator, just about 7 hours a week, but it's been a huge help for Annie to make those phone calls, to help coordinate instructors and all the schools back and forth. As you can imagine, it's just tons of communication constantly.
It takes a village, right?
Yeah, it does. I mean, even for example, we always have surveys. It's really important for us to know and to be able to see like what changes are being made and hear from the parents and the students and the teachers. And then we always are able to grow and learn from that too. But even having somebody take the time every week to get the surveys out, to review the surveys, to record them. Yeah.
Great. And I know those are really important metrics for grant reporting. So it sounds like you guys have your hands full. Carol was also asking, do you currently pay the instructors for their participation?
We do. Yeah. We pay instructors per class. We start them at $75, and then we go up to $90 once they've been with us and been reliable for at least 6 months. And it's a nice, it's more than a lot of cooking schools around here for children do pay. So we typically get instructors that are pretty excited about the pay. I mean, it includes the hour class, and then they have to get there about 15, 20 minutes early, stay another 15, 20 minutes, and then also do the grocery shopping. So it's really like 2 hours, I would say, for that amount. But yes, we do pay them.
Awesome. And if anybody has any other questions, feel free to unmute. Stephanie was asking, do you draw down funds monthly, or do you have a different process?
We put together a budget, so we have to be really careful since so much of our Little Sprouts is funded by grants. And so there's a whole budget for every year. So every school, it's line itemed. So how much for the groceries, for if there's any, transportation or parking costs, because some of these schools are right in the city. And so we have to even take into account, the $5 a week for the instructor to park, for example, any sort of new equipment. It's a very low budget type of operation. The instructors come with their little wagons filled with a hot plate and some knives and ingredients, but still, things break, or we add a new school and we have to add a new kit for a couple $100. So yeah, it's all line itemed and budgeted for the entire year. It's part of what the treasurer, along with the board and myself, put together for our annual budget. And then sometimes we have to revise it, or if we get another grant, then we expand it.
Totally. Thanks. I think majorly, I think federal funds are those programs you have to draw monthly, but county and state, I think they usually expend the funds like either biannually or just like give you the funds and then you report on them. But anyways,
yeah,
to stay on track.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, you basically can't, they'll tell you, you can get X amount, but you have to show them your budget and that you've spent it.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, at least for this. But I think grants are so individual, so it really depends. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Great. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Maya. And if more questions arise, feel free to put them in the chat, or we'll definitely have a lot of time at the end of the session. But for now, I'd love to move on to Elsa with Slow Food East Bay, who's going to speak to us about corporate sponsorship. Slow Food East Bay, along with Slow Food Denver and Slow Food North Louisiana, I believe, participated in our end of year auction, where we solicited donations from chapters and had a great online fundraiser. And Elsa is going to speak with us today about the process in which their chapter solicited donations and made relationships with local funders. So Elsa, please take it away.
Hi, everyone. We're so honored and privileged to have this opportunity, to share with you about the work. And as I mentioned earlier, it really was headed up by one of our chairs, Jessica, who was ill, but she actually miraculously, woke up, and she's on the call up for moral support. And there's a few other folks from the chapter, I believe Daniel and Willow are here as well. So, we're gonna just do our best, to just capture kind of the spirit, of what we've really learned, from this opportunity. So as Lauren mentioned, we participated in the end of year auction, and it's actually a kind of a way for us to serve as a coming out party, because the East Bay chapter, we just onboarded a completely new leadership around last summer, and we were just kind of trying to find our sea legs, and so this was a great way for us to reconnect, with a lot of local businesses, and also as a way to folks that we might have partnered before, but also as a way to kind of introduce ourselves and what we do. And I think kind of really it was a collaborative effort of a brainstorming session of the kind of businesses that we felt not only would align, with our mission and an ethos of slow food, but also, are the things that we believe our members would be interested in and excited about. And thirdly, we're very conscious of the fact that, there's a lot of, businesses, smaller especially, that have some economical challenges, in terms of what they can offer. So we were trying to be really sensitive and inclusive in terms of how they participated. And so the way it worked was, based on a brainstorming joint session, with the board, we came up about 41 businesses that we targeted. And it was through a combination of some talking points and information from the USA, as well as or customizing on our own. And with that outreach, there was 3 primary people that really did the outreaching, and we were successful in soliciting donations from 17 businesses, which are about 41%. So we were really excited in terms of, kind of the hit rate, so to speak. And we're happy to report that through the auction, which I believe ran for about a week, we raised a little over $2,000. That's about 18% of the total that was raised as part of the auction. And we were very happy to have been able to keep 75% of it. So thank you very much, USA, for that. And with that, Willow actually had a wonderful idea for us to, kind of in action, right away, each of us picked, an organization what we felt really led to, and to donate, $100. So for half of it, we actually donated right back to, the organization that are doing the work. And that's a big part of kind of what we see as a chapter. Certainly programming is still going to be something we really akin to, and we've done some really exciting things. But I think a lot of our work is through amplifying and uplifting, but also, just connecting the right people and just continue to foster the work that they're doing, so that kind of directly allows us to do that right away in a very meaningful way. I think kind of overall, in terms of some of the learnings that, we've had, certainly, having the guidance and the support and the sponsorship from leadership from the USA was really helpful. Having that, that the name, and it really helped us, be able to have some traction. Also, definitely, follow up and promoting, so we also utilized this as an opportunity to create content, for our audience. So for every every donor, we had done a featured social media post about them, and and as also as a way to prompt more bidders. And so I think that's definitely was a really positive thing. In terms of areas of improvement, we felt that we would have liked to have seen more engagement from bidders, from more people. There are a few things, usually mainly bigger ticket, and it could be COVID related. We had a couple really awesome cooking classes that were featured, but again, it could be partly COVID, it could be because the dollar amounts were a little greater. We didn't get some of those tractions, but the people that had offered those gifts were also really generous in wanting to stay in touch with us and participate in other ways. And so some of them did go for below retail value, which we understand that's kind of why people also want to do auctions, is because they're trying to get a deal, so to speak. But I think, we activated on this pretty quick, but I think we definitely learned a lot, and we would love, to apply some of that learning, to the future as well. Let me see if there's anything that else I missed and just, she gave me some amazing notes. And so I'm just going to make sure there's anything else, but I think that's kind of the gist of it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Elsa and Jess. Such great feedback from the auction. And I love that you guys gave the funds back to organizations who are doing work. I didn't know that, and I love it. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for participating. And just a little shout out is that we'll be doing the end of year auction, hopefully annually, and we hope to start the outreach a little bit earlier this year. So if you want to participate, look out for some communications on that and around September, I would say. And otherwise too, if you're interested in hosting your own auction, we are using this platform called Auctria, and we have a year-long membership. So and we're not using it year-round, so that gives the opportunity for other chapters to use it. It's a pretty easy platform. There's some funny things about it, but we could either help you a lot, and or if you feel comfortable, you could take the auction and make your own platform and run with it. So is there any questions for Elsa about this process? Feel free to, oh, thanks, Anna just added the auction in the chat. Anybody have any questions for Elsa regarding the auction, or how to reach out to corporate sponsors?
I think one thing to add too is that we are happy to share any of the materials or any of the letters that we've written with anyone else that are doing any kind of outreach.
Thank you for that. That's super generous of you guys. Yeah, we'll have to add that to the leader resources, perhaps. Oh, great. Yes, it seems like there's high demand for some tips on talking to corporate sponsors. Anna was asking, how did businesses respond to your ask?
Again, I mean, I wasn't one of the outreach folks. I mean, in terms of for the auction in itself, I think the fact that we had gotten really good traction, about 41% of them did respond and donated something in kind, I think was a very, testament to, I think, the strength of the brand and our, how connected people feel to our ethos. And probably those that were doing the outreach, they were, and I mean, as a board, I mean, in general, everyone is very personable and, so I think that's, one element of it. I think for me personally, as I, kind of get, entrenched in my role, as one of the co-chairs for the leadership team, I think it's just being genuinely curious and being and open to sharing. I mean, just the other day, we live in Berkeley, there's a local online newspaper called Berkeley Side, and there was an article about a woman who is making, the Lunar New Year is coming up, and she makes Asian inspired pastries that are vegan. But when I read her story, really she came from, kind of an environmental bent. That's really why she does what she does. So all her packaging is compostable. So I just reached out to her and I kind of introduced myself. I just said, hey, I'm with Slow Food. Like, you're doing exactly what we love to do. How can we work together? And I think, those are the kind of things, not being afraid of it, and genuinely sharing, kind of the bounty of, that we are all interconnected. It's kind of how we operate as a chapter.
Awesome. I love it. And I hear too that it seemed very beneficial for businesses to interact, because you did a lot of like social media outreach and you were promoting their business in addition to like promoting the ethos. So like when people see that, they really kind of understand both the nonprofit and the businesses like interaction and how they're helping each other. Stephanie was asking, how did you vet businesses for outreach, and are you currently doing the snail approval program?
Well, I think first of all, our co-chair Willow, she has raised her hand, so she might have a couple of things to share, with this comment or anything else. And I think also Daniel, who's our other member, he wrote some notes out. So after Willow shares, I'm happy to read Daniel's note unless he wants to speak.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to say thank you, Elsa, for representing. And I think what Daniel is saying and what Elsa was just representing is that a lot of the businesses that we reached out to, we had personal relationships with in some way, shape, or form. We'd either worked with them in the past or we'd supported them in the past. So this idea that we're constantly nurturing relationships, I think is really important. So that when you do make the ask, you have already given before you've asked. I think that's really important, especially with these smaller businesses. So in terms of how many people, like what people's reaction were, often what we would normally find is that either they would react positively or we'd get zero answer at all. Like, I don't think we got anybody saying no, we just got zero answer. And then maybe that's people being polite and not wanting to say no. But a few of them, when we followed up with them, were willing to do something. So that was really great. In terms of vetting businesses for outreach, I think in the past, we probably would have wanted to do more smaller businesses that were a little more niche almost, but we felt that with COVID and what people have been through the last 2 years, that we didn't want to push the asks too much. So we did do a few larger businesses or people that have greater scope, because we felt like they oftentimes, those businesses like the cheese, why am I thinking, what was the cheese company? But it's like they already write this into their budget. So they already have Cowgirl, that's what it is. Thank you. So we wanted to kind of balance both some smaller people who could do some smaller things, like Daniel himself. He makes aprons and he donated a couple of aprons. Amazing. So that was how we vetted people. And we do not have a snail of approval program. And then I will sign off with that, and I'll let Elsa kick back in. Thanks.
Awesome.
We
Thank you so
also-
much. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just realized we also both sent email thank yous to everyone with 501c3 like charity information, but we also wrote handwritten thank you notes. Jess and I did all of that, and I actually hand delivered a lot of them because they're local businesses, and I thought that kind of face and name of being able to hand them stuff and say how grateful we were for their support. So it was handwritten notes with, you know, some stickers and some information about membership, and also information about how to become a small business supporter. So I put that all together in that thank you note.
I love that personal touch. That really is super nice. And I think businesses, people, they really appreciate that. So that's a really great way to, you know, nurture the relationship, as you were saying, and just kind of like keep that relationship open. And yeah, that's so great. Closing the loop with thank yous. Yeah, don't keep that open, right? If they give you something, be sure to thank them and thank them again. Awesome. Fernando asked, what are some of the chapter gives to potentials? I might be misunderstanding that, but Fernando, do you want to clarify?
Yeah, I just wondering, she said that she gave to the potentials prior, and for other organizations we do similar, and I'm just curious what Slow Food does in particular, or her chapter did in particular. Thanks.
Are you referring to Willow's comment about what we've given prior? I think it's that we've collaborated and we've shown up, right? Prior, right? Willow, that's what you mean?
Yeah, I think sorry, Elsa, and when you want to talk a little bit about kind of as we've redone our mission statement, this idea that our primary focus is about amplification and kind of finding the people who need a platform and then using our platform. So that in the past we kind of offer that, whether that's social media or being focused in newsletters or bringing people to the table in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if there's anything you want to add, Elsa. I feel like
I think that's great. I guess the clarification for Fernando was that what you were asking about?
Well, I mean, some of so your asks are for you know, a couple of aprons to maybe, you know, corporate sponsorship for an event or even beyond that. So, you know, naturally the give needs to be somewhat commensurate with that, I would expect. So I was just wondering specifically what has been done for other organizations. For example, we've taken their products and presented them on an international level. For example, their china, or their, you know, their thrown pottery, or their food products, for example. So I'm just wondering how you sort of scale your give to your ask, I guess is what. And perhaps there is nothing more than newsletter inclusion and discussion about their products and so on through the network.
Yeah, I think, you know, kind of the way I think about this too is because it's a continuous relationship. One of the things I always like to share being a Chinese American is that there's no goodbye in our language, is I'll see you again. And it's just sort of this continuous loop of, it's not so much like a one for one. And I mean, I think it's sort of a continuous, and say in this case, we, you know, to Willow's point, we don't want to wait till we're thirsty to dig the well, but, you know, we hope that we've been a good citizen and a good partner sort of in total, that when we ask, that people would understand that we're being genuine. But just as the example of, you know, kind of Willow's inspiration of giving back right away, it's like we just try to do that when we can. So later on, you know, and when there is a more of a collaboration opportunity where we may be asking for something, that there would be, like in this case, isn't so much just like a good, you know, like for an auction, like a tangible good. It might be an introduction. It might be, which we do a lot too, you know, kind of Willow, alluded earlier, sort of one of the big work that we've started as a chapter is really defining for ourselves, like what is our relevance within slow food, kind of something that we're part of an umbrella of, but that it needs to be unique to us. And kind of the three sort of our pillars are, is really about, like Willow said, about the application and the promotion, connection and partnership, sort of another pillar. And then for us, like the programming piece, it's going to be something within it, but there's a lot of work that we can do kind of on those other, area. So I guess that's the way we approach it. But luckily, like I said, based on the, the hit rate, I think most people understood, what we were trying to do and were very supportive, which we were really, really grateful.
Great. Thank you guys so much. Such a productive conversation. To move on, since we're, I don't want to say running out of time, but to stay on track, I would love to introduce Angie White from Slow Food North Louisiana. And she's going to talk about memberships. And I'll just start by saying, I know that Slow Food North Louisiana has been super successful with membership rates, and I want to know their secret. So hopefully Angie will share that with us. Hi, Angie.
Hi. Well, there's no one answer. And let me just say to the folks in Slow Food East Bay, I am terribly jealous that you have Cowboy Creamery as one of your businesses. Wow. Anyway, well, I'll focus first on, let me backtrack. In 2013, when we had the National Leaders Conference in New Orleans, I met Richard McCarthy, who was the Slow Food USA president at the time. And so he was excited to see someone from Shreveport, because people in New Orleans don't really know that anything else in Louisiana exists. And so he was so happy to see us there, and we established a relationship. And I never realized, I guess, that we were doing so well with memberships until one year he directly sent me an email and said, "Holy cow, what are y'all doing down here? This is great." So we don't think of it in any way of like, trying to be bringing in large numbers, but just trying to reach people who really share the same feelings we do about our mission, who are in our community that we may not know yet. So I'll start with Slow Food, our membership drive, the national membership drive. I don't remember how many years ago we started this, but we have a lot of restaurant partners. There are a couple of restaurants in town where the owner chef, he is on our board. And so obviously we partner with him a ton. He's on the International Slow Food Chefs Alliance. He gets us. We also have several other restaurants where either the chef owners have been Slow Food members a long time, or they've been really responsive when we reach out to them about connecting to local farms, and they have local products on their menus. And so we really try to establish relationships with them as we do our programming throughout the year, where there may be opportunities to have chefs involved. And so starting several years ago, we began reaching out to those restaurant owners or chefs to ask if we could host a slow food night in their restaurant during our membership drive. And so this past year, which, you would have thought would have been one of the more challenging ones, down here in the South, let me just put some context out there around COVID. We're a bit more spread out, and I would say things probably have opened up here a little bit more than they might have in other parts of the country. So I hope you're not all freaking out when you hear me say things like this, but we're following all the state protocols. We did have 4 slow food nights during the month of September. And in most cases, the restaurant actually commit to give us 10% of the money from the night that we host. And so in all cases, they let us come in and we have a table set up, usually near the front of the restaurant, and we put out our slow food table cover and all the stickers. People love the stickers, the buttons, all the things that come in the membership kit, and have lots of membership brochures. And we ask our board members to come and work the table. We'll do shifts to make it easier for people. We tend to focus on dinner time just because most of our board, we work daytime jobs. But we usually ask the restaurant, pick a night that's a slower night for you so that we're not, impacting you negatively. And we're going to market the heck out of this, and we hope you will too. And so we make sure that our board members have information to refer to about programs that we offer in our area. Obviously what the Slow Food mission is, which our mission matches Slow Food USA. And we talk about how we are executing that here, because we have found that people come to us who become members or even who just come to our events are all coming for a wide variety of reasons. You know, some people come because they love food. Some people come because they love sustainable gardening. Some people come because they like to support youth and food. Some people come for, you know, all the reasons. And so we try to provide a variety of events throughout the year to attract all those different folks. And when we send out our messaging about Slow Food Night, especially when we send emails to our current members, we say, hey, and when you plan your dinner, why don't you bring a friend, someone that you think might, you know, have an interest in slow food and what we do, because this is our membership drive, and so we're trying to get more members. We always have lots of membership brochures on hand, and I've tried very hard to get our board trained to say, you know, we are a membership organization. You don't have to be a member to participate in things that we do. But we as a chapter decided many years ago that if someone is a current Slow Food member, they receive discounts to any ticketed events that we have. And so sometimes that's the thing that encourages people to become members. But at the end of the day, I just stress that you're supporting a national movement. You're part of a national team, if you want to think of it that way. And Slow Food USA supports our chapter and what we do, and vice versa. And so that's usually my rationale for it. So one thing that we did in, I think it was 2020, you know, we were trying really hard to come up with some virtual programming options. And during the month of September, we hosted a virtual open house for people who might have heard about slow food and wanted to learn more about it before they commit to becoming a member. And so we did it by Zoom. You know, kept it up for about an hour, and people could log on, ask questions. Wasn't a huge response, but it's something that we might do again, you know, until our country figures out how to have in-person events again. I think it's worth trying again at least. And it may be that we have something in person. We have, there's a really interesting program that we're a part of. It's called We Grow Together, and it's us and two other organizations, the LSU Ag Center and the Red River Coalition of Community Gardeners. We partner in this, we're an umbrella organization to focus a lot on youth gardening education, cooking education, healthier eating, and the city has given us a house and a plot of land where we can do this stuff. And so we host an event usually in September called Reaping the Harvest, which is meant to get people there to help us prepare the garden for, you know, fall and winter planting. But we have cooking demos and all that kind of stuff. So that's another opportunity for us to expose people in our community to slow food and our message. But really, you know, throughout the year, we're always looking for places where we can partner with others to have a presence. Organizations that have, you know, a similar mission to ours, we may overlap some, and we have a ridiculous number of amazing nonprofits in our community given its size. So we have a lot of opportunities. Before COVID, and I hope going forward, one of our biggest events we participate in, a museum in town that has just beautiful grounds. They host an event called Bloom in the spring. And it's meant to get people out in the grounds to learn about nature, to learn about the various animals that we have in our area. They have all different kinds of groups who set up booths, and we set up our booth and we give away seeds. And we largely try to talk to kids. We give away things like flowers that are good for bees, and we bring colors so they can draw bees on the table that we have. And so that's one of our big seed giveaways to the community at large. And we really focus on, you know, growing things that would attract pollinators. But then at other times, you know, we've, last year, we had, for the first time ever, a plant and seed swap that a couple of different gardening groups organized. And that was really one of the best outreach events I've ever been to in terms of people coming to our booth. And they weren't even really so much interested in the seeds. They wanted to know about slow food. So that was a really great event to connect to people. So I think, you know, we're always looking for those kinds of opportunities, but making sure that we can staff our presence there with a couple different people so no one's overburdened, making sure that the staff has really good knowledge of what we're doing, good talking points, so they feel comfortable talking about us. And, I can talk about slow food day in, day out, nonstop, but not everyone, feels as comfortable doing that. The other thing that I think has been really helpful is that at all of our events now, whatever it is we're doing, where we are leading the event, at some point, either I or someone else will stand up, welcome everybody, and just ask everyone in the room, have you ever heard of slow food before this event? And so usually we have a few people that raise their hands, and it gives me the opportunity to tell everybody what slow food's about, what our mission is broadly, and what our chapter focuses on, how we execute that mission here. And I always say Slow Food USA is a membership organization. You don't have to be a member to participate in what we do, but by becoming a member, you do support us and you support the broader mission, across the United States and internationally. And don't you want to be a part of a group that's focused on this? I mean, it's a cool group to be a part of. And we always have membership brochures at everything we go to, everything, whether it's our own event or not. We also, because, we're very mindful of the fact that membership has a cost, we don't want that to alienate anybody. So when we're talking about this, we make sure to note that several times throughout the year, we have Give What You Can Day. And those have been a really big seller for us in terms of signing up new members. So, I tell them usually we have one around Earth Day. Usually we have one during membership drive. Usually we have one around Terra Madre. So be on the lookout on our social media and our emails about things like that. Let me think. I think that's really the basis of it. But I think just being very intentional and noting that Slow Food is a membership organization, and we'd love to have you as a member. Doesn't mean you have to be, but come join what we're doing, and put your sticker on your car, and wear your button proudly. But yeah, I think that's about it.
Angie, that was so great. Thank you. And as Anna said, love your emphasis on partnerships. I think that's really important, and doing all those great events to share about slow food and all of your efforts. So thank you. We only have about 13-ish minutes left. So I would love to, maybe if there's any questions, Fernando did ask, do you partner with restaurants, venues that may not meet snail of approval criteria? If so, what is the approximate retention rate ratio of those that aspire to and achieve the approval?
Well, we haven't nominated anyone yet. I think that we are probably going to be nominating a restaurant this year. It's our board member who's on the Slow Food International Chefs Alliance. No, we don't. That's not a criteria for us, but we ask restaurants that we have a relationship with. So it's restaurants that we know are selling products of farms in our area on their menus, and they highlight them, and they partner with those farms. They partner with us. We have a farm dinner every year called Fet on the Farm. And so many of them are the people who have been the chefs for that event. They have their own restaurant. So those are usually the ones that we focus on for our slow food nights and restaurants.
And do you ask your board members to become members of Slow Food USA?
I don't remember exactly, but I think it may be a requirement.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. So now I would love to move into focusing on fundraising troubleshooting, or if anybody has a success story they would want to share.
I actually wanted to address some questions about grants earlier. So I've been a grant writer in a past life, and I have written a whole lot of grants. In terms of sourcing them, there are a lot of organizations in all communities that give grants. You just might not know it. So if you have like Rotary clubs in your community, they are usually grant makers. Grocery store chains usually have grants that you can get, and they also do that, or at least Kroger does. If you are a Kroger shopper and you have one of their cards, you can get your organization connected to them, so that when people spend money with that grocery store, they earn dollars that go back toward your nonprofit. There's just a whole lot of different ways that you can find smaller grants, not the big crazy federal grants, which can be overwhelming. Maybe if you're moving into the grant writing space for the first time. I think one thing to know if you've never done it before is to make sure that you've got a lot of the documents that are going to be requested, which there's a letter that Slow Food USA can send, noting that you're under the umbrella of their tax ID and you're a nonprofit. They often want to know if you have a budget that's been approved by your board, things like that. So just always make sure you read through the criteria before proceeding, because there might be some things that you need to get lined up before you apply for your grant. But there's probably a lot of local organizations, civic organizations in your communities that offer grants. You just have to start, paying attention to that.
Yeah, totally agree. Anybody else on the call having any fundraising issues or want to propose an idea? They're kind of struggling with how to lift it off the ground and want some technical support.
This is Stephanie from Slow Food Vegas. My mind is kind of swirling right now. I know we're going to hang up and I'm like, oh, I should have asked this or that. So I appreciate having the emails and the contact info to reach out to folks. Thank you. This is really, really helpful. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Yes, I will put everybody's contact info up here in just a second.
For the, I haven't worked with local grants before. Working for a school district, I'd only worked with the federal grants. And I'm just curious, as Angie was saying, the big federal grants are very formalized and a lot of restrictions and a lot of very clear parameters. How with the local grants, I think I heard somebody say normally they don't are not used to fund salaries. Are there any other kinds of restrictions that people find with some of the more local grants or maybe corporate grants?
I have found, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, this is my, again, Slow Food Denver. From my experience, it's so varied. You just have to read it really carefully. There's, from one to the next, it's just different requirements and to read really closely exactly what they're looking for and exactly what they'll cover. But seems to me that it's all over the board. I don't know, Angie, what you've found in your experience.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. But I do find that a lot of times the Rotary clubs and such, they will support maybe a new program you're trying to launch. I have found with a lot of the grocery store chains, they'll often want to help you if you're doing an event. So we have a grocery store chain, Brookshires. They are really well known for donating lots of cases of water, that sort of thing, like if there's a 5K run or whatever. And I know Anna, I think it was Anna, put in a link about Whole Foods. They have been a supporter of ours, both in terms of seed donations. They've given us heirloom seeds that we can then give away. They have been an in-kind sponsor for our farm dinner that we do. So a lot of the products that the chefs used came from Whole Foods. So it really varies, and just finding out about the opportunities that are out there, but then reading, as Maya said, specifically what they want to focus on.
Yeah, I think I'll just add to that too, is that creating some sort of database where you can track these sort of things is so helpful, not just for like longevity of the development within your chapter and organization, but in terms of just like nurturing the relationship and just like understanding maybe who's given what in the past, what they've said they would commit to in the future. And it can be as simple as just a Google sheet or something. You could get more complicated, but I think that's a really great way to start, start a little database of local businesses and what they can give. And then like once you start researching foundations or sponsors and, you know, putting those links in there and contact information, any like dates, and then you could even get more complicated, you know, with the grants, you can include what the grant supports or what kind of external documents they are needing in order to apply, and just kind of like having those at your fingertips so you're not like having to look it up each time. It's just kind of can be there for you. Yes, we use Airtable. It's like a spreadsheet on steroids, like Anna said, and it is free. So you can definitely try to implement that into your organization. And we also have a sample spreadsheet that I developed for our small business supporter program. So I can share that. It's in our leader resources, chapter leader resources under the small business supporter program. And that can kind of be set up the same way. Joe said, Philly has had lots of success partnering with the restaurant school, who has allowed us classroom space for monthly seminars. We've also partnered with the Reading Terminal Farmers Market. We sponsored several organization representatives by subsidizing their trip to Terra Madre, which left lots of residual benefits. Awesome. As I feel like the theme here is like partnerships, right? You know, like finding those organizations and those businesses who are doing similar work and having those initial conversations of how you can connect, or those like events that you can show up at and table. Yeah, I think that's great. So just, oh, sorry, go on.
And just before we wrap, and I know that the slow fish is starting on the hour, so I want to make sure we're off soon for them, but someone private messaged me asking about paying staff or paying people. And I know in the past, Slow Food USA has kind of been against paying people. And I actually think, you know, my perspective is that it can be really beneficial to have some paid staff. I think Maya could attest to this. You know, when you're paying people, it allows you to be equitable, or to like pay people who otherwise wouldn't have the time to participate in slow food activities. And you know, it can help give your fundraising a little boost if you can pay someone to help write a grant, or to help, you know, invest in your chapter a little bit so that you can raise the funds to do the programs and to pay a little staff. So I'm happy to talk to anyone who wants to chat about that, but I've seen that the chapters who seem happiest and most robust have either occasional part-time staff or full-time staff. So happy to talk about that more if you'd like.
Yeah, and feel free to email me too. I'm part-time, everybody's part-time, but we do have 4 part-time people, and it works really well.
Awesome. And before we close this session, I've put a link in the chat if you wouldn't mind filling out a very brief survey, just so we can get your feedback about this session and the betterment of sessions in the future. Amy said would love info on part-time staff. Yeah,
definitely
Anna,
feel free to email me or Anna too. But yeah, I think my contact is there, the info.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for participating. I think we had a lot of great conversation, and yeah, I'm really excited to see you guys implement some of these great techniques. We heard from some wonderful chapters. Thank you guys so much for participating and leading and sharing all of these great and wonderful initiatives. I feel like my brain is turning too to implement some better programming on the national level and like how to, you know, better support organizations. So I think this is going to be really fruitful. And again, feel free to reach out to me or any of the hosts of this session if you have any more specific questions. I'm sure anybody would be happy to answer them. So thank you again. Remember to fill out the survey, and yeah, there's more resources, Leader Summit resources in the folder that Michelle put in the chat. So be sure to check that out and see if it can be helpful for your chapter.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.